I'm Dan Keldsen, Chief Engagement Officer at InformationArchitecture.com. This is part of a SOMO Biz interview series that I'm doing, which is social and mobile business. I am speaking with Stan Slapp, CEO of Slapp Company, the international consulting company renowned for achieving maximum commitment in manager, employee, and customer cultures. So we're going to be talking about culture quite a bit, I think.
Good.
And I'm a fan of your book, Bury My Heart at Conference Room B.
Thank you.
I was eagerly anticipating it. It came out 2 years ago.
About, August 2000.
Okay, so it was, that kind of stomped into the world that I largely occupy, which is the enterprise social space. So it's a great, catchy title, and you have lots of fantastic branding overall, which I'm very jealous of. But tell, what is that about? Because at a glance, the title of your book, I think, is a little confusing, which is all on purpose.
I didn't mean it to be confusing. I just
Okay.
didn't want to title it Unleashing New Paradigms of Productivity.
Yes, okay, good, yeah, that's better.
Bury My Heart at Conference Room B is the first of a 3-book series that Penguin is publishing, one on each of these cultures. Manager culture, employee culture, and customer culture.
Okay.
And the manager culture really had to come first. That's what triggers everything
Okay.
in business. And it's about resolving the biggest issue for a manager culture from the enterprise perspective, which is how do you gain emotional commitment, which is what the company wants most from its managers. They want managers to treat the company like a personal cause, protect and promote it that way.
Sure.
How do you get that from managers? And the bigger issue, really from a manager perspective, is why would you give it?
Right.
And because
If you're not rewarded for it.
you're not rewarded for it. And the source, the neurobiological source, this is not me telling you this, your brain telling you this,
Okay.
of emotional commitment, it comes from your ability to live your deepest personal values in any environment or relationship. So for a manager, that would mean your environment at work and your relationship with the company. And that conflict is what the book is really about. How do you really resolve that? The company knows what it wants most, and it most stops managers from giving it.
Right.
Managers know what they want most, they most stop themselves from getting it.
Right.
And that's what the book is about.
And this is why Dilbert is so popular. The pointy-headed
Yeah.
boss. Everybody's had one, or probably maybe still has one.
But for managers, it's no different from being a manager. At any level, I say in the book, when you're clawing your way to the top in your career,
Yep.
you can be convinced that everything will be figured out and fulfilling when you get there. You finally get there and find that things still suck, and now you're a culture of one, and you can't complain about it because you have all the apparent rewards of the job.
Right.
But things still don't make sense, and there's no place else to go. People jump from the top floors of buildings, not the bottom. So it's no easier at any level, and it is a conflict. Anyway, the book resolves the conflict. Allows you to live your own values at work,
Okay.
and so it helps you live them outside of work, and it helps the company get your emotional commitment.
Okay.
It's a hell of a pithy read, if I do say so myself.
Yes. Yeah. No. You're very good. And you can leave it on a conference room table, and maybe we'll get the conversation started.
Yes.
So in the pre-interview, you said, "I'm in the business to make the business case for humanity."
Yes.
Which, you know how many times I've heard that?
No.
Once.
Okay. Good. I'm good with that. Okay.
So what does that mean? And I like it, and it resonates with me. But what does that actually mean?
Well, it means that if we lose humanity in business, we're all doomed. If we say that company by company, manager by manager, we save ourselves. I believe personally that short of homicide, the worst thing that one human being can do to another is to make them feel small. Mm-hmm. You're not, you can't, you won't ever be.
Right.
And the world works. It goes to work, it's affected by work. And if people are diminished by business, working in it or buying from it, that doesn't stay in business. That jumps the fence and follows them home. Your employees, your customers, they're also parents and they're partners and they're neighbors and they're voters. If they approach those roles feeling small, the toxic impact is incalculable.
Okay.
And so the idea of nobody should be diminished by business, working in or buying from it is a noble sentiment, but it's not going to interest any profitable enterprise.
Right.
So we always say, in case the icy hand of altruism hasn't gripped you by the throat, don't worry about it, because in any organizational environment where meaning is determined by metrics, understanding how cultures work, which is where humans and humanity gathers in your business, is the most assured path to success.
Okay. So for companies that might be hesitant to embrace what you're talking about, what's an easier a path to get them from where they are now, which is perhaps not caring as much as they should, to actually putting in place the steps to take care of the cultures that you're talking about?
Well, these three cultures, managers, employees, and customers, will decide the success of your business. What you say about the business has nothing to do with it.
Sure, right.
And so, when we're presenting this to a company, we use what we call the Goldfinger approach. Remember Goldfinger?
Yes.
Right? So James Bond is
We're old.
Right. Is can we retake this question? Okay. Is strapped to the table and laser beams out, ready to cut him in two, and he's frantically trying to negotiate his way out of it. And just as it's about ready to reorg critical portions of its anatomy. He says, listen, if you kill me, another agent will be sent to take my place. Goldfinger says, I don't think so, Mr. Bond. And Bond says, can you afford to take that chance? And the laser beam shuts off. What I would say is to any C-suite, listen, if you are confident that the last 10 strategies and goals work exactly the way you wanted them to, then I'm sorry to have wasted your time. You probably don't need to know the true motivations of these cultures.
Right.
But if your success, your company's success, your legacy impact is determined by the success of the next 10, then you really need to respect the power of these cultures and understand how they work.
Right. Okay. Well, so to wrap up here, so speaking of culture, so I noticed in the branding of your site and the sort of the attitude in a good way of the way that you portray yourself and the company comes across, it feels very rock and roll to me. And you mentioned before we had the camera going, there's something to that there.
Yeah, I'm not trying to say in some poser way where like, oh, I hate that. Rock on, make those numbers. I'm not saying that.
Right.
I'm saying that
I used to have much longer hair than you have. So.
hey, man, this job will do. I'm just drinking the hair gel. That's my secret. The managers have their own culture. They may not realize they have their own culture. A manager in one company, in one position, one country, doesn't necessarily understand that a manager in another position, another company, another country, also believes they're trapped in some vague conspiracy between idiots above and idiots below. But managers have their own culture. That means they have their own language. Part of any culture's language is music. And we grew up with rock and roll. It was the language of our culture. It defined the shared experiences of first terrors and exhilarations, marked who's in the culture, who's not. Managers have their own culture, so they have their own language. So they have their own music, but they don't really have their own music. And there's no rock and roll for managers.
Right.
They have to listen to their parents' old Stephen Covey records.
Right.
Nobody is saying, listen, I'm going to show you how to do your job better than you've ever done before, but that's not all there is to it.
Right.
What you can do, your legacy impact on other human beings. Let's take your foot off the brake, put it on the accelerator, kick out the jams, take it to the street, and pump it up in the air. That's
There you go.
what
Oh, that was a nice stretch of musical references right there.
There you go.
That's awesome. Okay, great. Well, I think we're out of time. I was talking to Stan Slapp, CEO of Slapp Company. I would recommend you check out his book, Bury My Heart at Conference Room B. And the next book is?
It's called 1, 2, 10, named after the way companies plan strategies.
Okay, thank you. All right.